All right, I just want you to see what is impossible light activity under all circumstances, appearing and disappearing. This is demonic. And as you look at this light activity, this is the prosecution of a government, including the people of the state, including specifically as you individualize that federal prosecution, Lucy Santos, who's going to be prosecuted as a terrorist engaging in state surveillance in concert with that corrupt entity. This is demonic activity. This is the evidence of demons who are keeping you under surveillance. It's evidence of federal stalking. It's evidence of malice and impunity. It's evidence of an ongoing sex offense as it's occurring inside of the private space. And it is what is, let's see, currently, okay. Then the current time is 4:54 p.m. That's what I'm trying to see. And this is the light activity. Let me be clear. The light activity, the appearance and disappearance, it immediately begins as I start taking pictures. This is demonic, okay? You are looking at the presence of the demonic, demon possession, demonic activity, these terms that I'm using. I am giving you the evidence. You're looking at the evidence of what is the presence of the physical manifestation, if you will, of what you cannot see in the physical regarding demonic spirits. Okay, through the light activity, you're looking at the presence of the demonic. And this is no demonic spirit that's on me. This is the presence of demons who are surrounding, and it is appearing through the environment that's surrounding me. And it is monitoring, this engineered light coexist with the presence of demon-possessed people who are engaged in group stalking. These are people that make up the government, and also legal for purposes of a prosecution and understanding how the government's monitoring with the people that surround you, and they shall be legally referred to as the people of the state. They all have demonic spirits on them, and their demonic activity is revealed through the demonic environment that surrounds me. They're engaging in what is criminal conduct, and this is criminal surveillance, and the demon possessed are engaged in monitoring, which is relevant to a demon possessed person's ability to stalk, that is, maintain presence in your path, that is create any form or method of light activity, that is create any form of audible activity with simultaneity to what you're doing, including while they are physically outside of your presence. A demon possessed person does that. That's pursuant to what is a demonic spirit that's on them. This is including those that fly helicopters and with simultaneity are capable of following. That's why I've literally referred to it as a term of art, stalking with activity creation. The definition of stalking has more than one. You're not only stalking by being present in the path, you are stalking with activity. You're stalking that is following with light activity. You're stalking that is following with audible activity. A demon-possessed entity that's maintaining corporate knowledge of all that you're doing, everywhere that you're doing it at all times. And you are looking at what is, again, knowledge of the fact that I'm documenting the lights activity that's on my ceiling right now. The moment that I began capturing pictures, you'll see a change in the concentration of the light. It gets dimmer and brighter and dimmer and brighter. This is, first of all, on its face, impossible light activity. It's not sunlight. Sunlight is not a product of that which is coming from the sun that's above this building. I'm on the third floor of an apartment building. Also, the evidence which is with regard to the documentation of that which is not the sun. It's necessarily the light source, as I've shown you the unnatural environment that the entity is surrounding me while I am surrounded by that environment for purposes of what is demonic activity practiced by a corrupt government that's engaged in surveillance. They're necessarily engaged in surveillance while they are maintaining presence everywhere that you go. That's the definition of stalking. And they're doing so in concert with the people of the state, maliciously on behalf and in concert with that corrupt government. And they're doing so with the presence of this engineered light and that light source. And that's exactly what's outside above my apartment right now. And again, at this hour, I'm speaking to a few things that I'm going to show you. Not only is the ongoing documentation of what is federal group stalking and monitoring by virtue of this presence of this engineered light on my ceiling. Let me be clear, as I've already pointed out, when you are looking at the evidence of the engineered light, it is, and this is impossible light in one of the most spectacular forms. It's on the ceiling inside of my apartment. The sun is something that is above all of us on outside. Okay. The sun's not inside of any of our structures. Okay. The sun is outside. The sun is high above us also. And the downward trajectory of sunlight does not engage in conduct such that it's shooting light at a downward trajectory and then horizontally through, for purposes of not even entertaining the notion that it's shooting through walls, that it's shooting horizontally through a window with closed blinds, creating a pattern of the horizontal structure of those blinds on the ceiling, and then the vertical structure of the blinds on the at a downward trajectory. This has nothing to do with sunlight. This is the evidence of looking at demon possession, which is speaking to monitoring spirits. Monitoring spirits occupy human vessels. These are demon possessed people. And this is what the Dominic Choi and the people of the Los Angeles Police Department, this is what is wrong with them. This is their condition. This is what inspires their obsession and their stalking conduct, which they use helicopters to engage in the perpetration of the crime of federal group stalking and monitoring, which are three specific elements: audible activity, relevant positioning, which is they're literally engaging what is stalking in the path, maintaining presence in the path, surveillance in my path, in concert with all of the people of the state who are of the same condition, demons. And this is legally relevant because of the criminal system that the government is engaging in. And they're doing so with real-time knowledge, which is a sex offense, while keeping one under surveillance inside of their private space and maintaining constructive presence. And you are understanding the ongoing connection. I've shown the system that is inherently present, that is literally irreducibly established. That is, when you are looking at any random freeway, any random street that I stand on, and you see the impossible occurrence of engineered light, and then you're looking at the iterations of that same impossible environment, that same pattern inside of the private space, which is speaking to that same criminal system that's occurring in a manner that it can be maintained where no car is inside of my apartment, no helicopters inside of my apartment. They are maintaining presence by keeping engineered light inside of my apartment while they are stalking, engaging in surveillance all around me, around my apartment. And that is what the significance of this evidence is. In addition to that, I'm going to do an additional video because I'm going to remind you, first of all, what is the specific environment that's already captured here in Los Angeles. And this is the inevitable prosecution of the entire state of California. But I want to point something out. I'm going to show you what is the malice and the futility, but it's showing the very high level, vicious criminal determination to engage in stalking. And this is speaking to the severity of duration of time in federal prison because of the malice that you are aware of when you are looking at the endeavor, the ongoing objective of, for example, the covering up of the light source. This is a pattern in the specific environments. I've shown you this before, and I'm going to show you that in the specific environment that's already captured, for example, at State Facilitating Venue, Upland Public Library, where I've already captured the light source from the beginning until the end of the day. And what the entity's criminal objective is, while they're monitoring, the state is monitoring the documentation, seeking to avoid, which you're not. You're not avoiding anything. But I want you to witness what is revealing the mental illness of the demon-possessed, that is the psychopathic population that is still obsessively stalking and monitoring, revealing massive public corruption and absolute removal outright, immediately, okay, of demons such as Dominic Choi, whose department, with real-time knowledge of that which is being documented and that which was already documented, engaging in the pattern of continuing this psychotic stalking system while they are seeking to avoid revealing their demon possession, which is revealed through the environment. My showing you the light source over me for the duration of the day, which is a scientific impossibility, which is something that no NASA rocket scientist is ever going to be able to reconcile with regard to what they've told us and what we study, a rudimentary, basic, fundamental principles with regard to the natural environment. No one can reconcile that. So while I've captured that evidence, which is under no circumstances ever forgotten, and which is speaking to an ongoing ceaseless system. So one day to the next, it's speaking to an ongoing ceaseless system. One day to the next, covering up the light source versus the day prior where the light source was showing, is speaking to the same criminal system. The entity is engaging in a pattern, nonetheless, of the same exact stalking conduct in that same exact specific environment while covering up the light source with knowledge of the fact of exactly what I've honed in on my documentation is the stalking with the light source that's not possibly the sun. And I'm going to show you, as you've already seen the entity doing so this morning, the light source is covered up outside of my front door, yet you still see the engineered light on my windowsill through closed blinds in a position that's never going to be the product of sunlight. It's certainly not even going to be there when it's supposedly a cloudy day. But under no circumstances is it going to be there at all because the light source is maintained as a matter of documentation in an entirely different region. And because the entity provided and engaged in that as an entity, okay, there is no provision ever that the natural environment exists here with regard to the light source that I have captured from the beginning to the end of the day. And then you have demons affiliated with companies such as Amazon Prime who come in boldness, with knowledge of the fact that they're being documented under the light source, replete with engineered light, while the entity is stalking in a helicopter. All of that captured already. They engage in the P.O.C. That's what I'm going to show you. And I'm going to capture that in a screen recording. I want you to understand the entity maintaining the engineered light on my ceiling for hours. Okay. While I am on my on my laptop computer, and I'm looking up my evidence because I'm getting ready for a screen recording for you to look at evidence already captured, monitoring the whole time. The moment that I start capturing video, you're looking at the disappearance of that which is never naturally occurring anyway. You're witnessing the demonic as you watch the light activity disappear. So let me turn on my light so you can see I have no control over this. Where's my remote at? I don't have some sort of weird light. This is my remote that controls this light right here. So I'm going to turn on my light. This is all the light activity I have. I could change the tone, the color of the light. There is nothing that I have that I can ever create that light activity. And not only that, I've already established my credibility. But not only that, there's a body of evidence that is years of capturing one method of impossible light activity after another. When I am at all manner, literally at random places that I've never been, places that I would go to every day. Engineered light on public buildings, on apartment buildings, which is speaking for literally the masses to engage in this criminal system. Okay, which is speaking to a crime committed by the community. It's a matter of public corruption. That's why you have engineered light that's covering apartment buildings, that's covering the freeways, that's covering my person, that's covering and moving across surfaces while thousands of people are driving all around you. While that engineered light, while they're crossing path in a vehicle, is repeated over and over and over again. While that light source is not moving, while they're moving around away from you, that light source remains over me, which is an impossibility as it engages in that for the duration of the day. That's not the sun, nor is that sunlight. That is already the established system where the entity is acting via the demon-possessed and wildly corrupt and very psychotic and viciously malicious. I want to use those adjectives together on purpose because I cannot articulate the level of mental psychosis that is exhibited through engaging in this criminal system. And then even at this degree, at this point in the documentation, in the evidence against the state. And I want to be clear, it's not just because these particular demons in LA have a particularly severe mental illness. That's simultaneously being revealed while they're group stalking. And I'm talking about the people of the state while I'm talking about LAPD. Remember what they represent. LAPD is nothing other than the state. Everybody that lives around, everyone in relevant position are the people of the state. Nobody's exercising any constitutional rights. It's impossible light activity. It's a light source that's speaking to a mass crime committed by the entirety of that community. And they're all demons. This is terrorism, and it's going to be prosecuted as what is state terrorism. The entity is engaging in revealing the mental illness that is shared by the masses. This is viciousness that's not unique to the demons of the LAPD or the demons of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the corruption that's only shared by those law enforcement agencies. You are looking at that level of desperation that's exhibited by the entirety of that entity, okay? You understand that. In addition to seeing that light activity disappear from my ceiling, I want you to see what's touching my body. Dominic Choi is going to be a prosecuted sex offender while being prosecuted as a documented sex offender by virtue of the molestation of my body, while that light that you saw on my ceiling disappears and you're looking at it appear through in a different pattern on the ceiling through the same closed blinds. Through the same closed blinds, you're looking at this pattern in this direction. At a downward trajectory, you're looking at this magnified in size on the bed. Okay, it's impossible light activity under all circumstances. Okay, and I'm going to show you the evidence so that you can vividly witness what it is that I'm describing because the specific environment is already captured. The entity knows exactly what it is that I'm exposing as I document that, thinking that they can protect demons such as Lisa Rogan, Kara Hudson, Kyle Brody, the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, the District Attorney's Office of the West Valley Division at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, the Public Defender's Office at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, Thomas Garza of the San Bernardino Superior Court, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, the San Bernardino Police Department, where I'm showing you them stalking with helicopters over my head with a light source directly over my head at the same time while it's documented remaining here in Los Angeles. The entity that's monitoring documentation is engaged in what is the same exact stalking as you've seen, obsessive stalking 20 to 30 times in the day while I am showing you the light source that's still present and it's covered up with clouds. It's not the natural environment, and you know that because the entity's keeping the light source for in excess of 12 hours in the day. You're witnessing the same demonic presence, the same demonic environment, the unnatural environment, while it's then covered up, showing at any time, just like you saw last night, while outside of this window, you saw the light source as though the sun is setting here. Okay, this is the presence of the light source, and it is no explanation for what is the light activity it's no explanation for the light activity that you just saw above my head through closed blinds, while the sun is above the building, and it's also documented at an entirely different region. And it's also no explanation for the light source that it then disappears from the ceiling and appears all over my body, because that's what's happening while you're looking at it disappear. And then I have impossible light activity all over my body. Understand how the pattern of this stalking with engineered light is going to be the prosecution for a sex offense. The target individual has a right to not be violated or terrorized with the maintenance of what is engineered light that's not even naturally occurring while you are engaging in what is criminal surveillance. And that sex offense is going to be individualized, including Lucy Santos, who's maintaining criminal presence in that path for that, regardless of her work schedule or regardless of where it is that she wanted to go to the mall, because she's still a part of that same entity that's group stalking on a ceaseless basis. And they engage in what is shaking hands, monitoring, and group stalking together, helping each other on a ceaseless basis. That's why you have group stalkers like Amazon Prime who come onto the ground and pick up the load, monitoring on behalf of the whole entity. She's documented, engaged in group stalking at the specific environment. And this ongoing sex offense is exactly what's going to be individualized under her name as a violent sex offender that is committed by a public entity, and it's going to be recognized under federal law. A violent sex offense, which is going to result in what is the removal of the minor children that she's engaging in, living at a crime scene in concert with a corrupt government, threatening the life and the privacy rights of an American citizen, and knowingly so, because she was also documented engaging in this criminal act, showing, by the way, the same viciousness, the same psychotic obsession, the same demon possession, the same impunity, while her minor children are documented engaging in that criminal act with her, driving in the engineer light, the same engineer light you see on my ceiling, then disappearing and appearing at a downward trajectory on my bed and covering my person. I'm going to prosecute her by name for this sex offense that I continue to document, which is not shared with the specific environment, as I routinely remain, by the way, in Upland, California at this time of year, which this psychotic and demon-possessed and corrupt entity that's engaged in federal stalking and violation of Title 18, who's monitoring documentation, which is going to result in very serious time in federal prison. Everybody's going, and they're going for a long time. Okay, they're going for a very long time, because I want you to look at, you're going to witness the entity that engages in what is, as I'm exposing to you, an unnatural environment, which is the evidence of demon possession. It's a demonic environment. Not only is this stalking by government, this is a demon possessed entity that's engaged in public corruption, and this is stalking as an entity. It's group stalking, referred to as gang stalking, referred to as contract stalking, proxy stalking, state organized stalking. This is what the state of California is engaged in. And you recognize it through the unnatural environment, through the specific environment, as I've termed it. And that is shown not only through the engineered light, but also through the light source, which is under no circumstances the sun. It's not even possibly the sun. It's not even remotely close to the behavior of the sun, nor is that sunlight, as you've seen that behavior, and you've seen the entity exhibiting demon possession while they are crossing paths with that engineered light, coexisting dynamic engineered light, which is literally the admission on behalf of an entity that is group stalking, which is a terrifying federal offense committed by a government who is going to be identified vicariously by Lucy Santos's criminal conduct. That's how you're going to individualize that sex offense and that act of terrorism. And by virtue of this light source here at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that documentation. You're going to see the Upland Police Department engaging in the same criminal and highly malicious, revealing the mental illness of these corrupt agencies that resolve to continue engaging in this criminal system. With real-time knowledge of the fact that they've been exposed and what you see them doing under a cloudy day, which is not the natural environment. So these are demons that are acting with malice and impunity, posing an impermissible threat. When I say raid and I say federal prison and I say mental examinations, that's exactly what I mean. And you're going to look at that evidence of the same exact stalking in that specific environment where you are looking at the supplement for that natural environment, creating any means of audible activity, just like you saw access the transit line for the disabled and for the elderly, and you're looking at and listening to the elements of monitoring that remain present at the same environment, the same specific environment where you've already seen the light source for the duration of the day. And you're going to recognize that pattern of, in other words, trying to conceal that criminal system, and it is no concealment. You're witnessing psychotic, obsessive stalking and a corrupt government that was unrepentant to the very end. And as unrepentant as they are, as determined as they are, as corrupt as they reveal themselves to be, while engaging in that criminal conduct on a cloudy day, which is speaking to the same exact, you're not avoiding anyone. No one forgot about the criminal system that's underway. Inevitably, in the specific environment, which it's already shown through hard evidence that nobody can ignore.
The entity continues to engage in it, the same obsessive stalking via helicopters in concert with the people of the state on a cloudy day. And this is where you see the idiotic things such as in the middle of the day, the light source arrives at the same property at 11:52 in the morning. And then you're looking at the light source that's still in alignment to me at 5:13 in the evening. 11 to 5 in and of itself. I don't even have to show you the demons of the Upland Police Department stalking in a helicopter at the specific environment, the Upland Public Library, where it's documented for 7 in the morning until after 6 in the evening. I don't even have to show you that, but I'm going to, because both the Upland Police Department, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino Police Department, like I referenced, and the Los Angeles Police Department, all of their police chiefs, you need to understand they're demon possessed. This is state surveillance. This is terrorism that's going on in the state of California. It is a matter of public corruption. And these criminals, this corrupt government, that's what these law enforcement agencies represent. They are masquerading as having authority and legitimacy, which they do not. They are engaged in what is kidnapping because they have no legitimacy. They have no authority under the law, while they are indeed the criminals maintaining private information while they're engaged in stalking, and they're doing it through demonic methods because they're demon possessed, each and every last one of them. And those demons like to use helicopters as that. That's why you'll see this hallmark as I remind you about the malice exhibited by the corrupt agency, the Upland Police Department, who are stalking by helicopter, while you'll see a demon driving an ambulance, creating audible activity and light activity. You'll see demons of the Upland City Hall. That's a state facilitating venue, a demon crossing path, working at that state facilitating venue, monitoring, just like you see LAPD doing on an ongoing basis, providing evidence for the federal prosecution of Lucy Santos, who's going to federal prison as a violent, demon-possessed sex offender that she is, a threat to the minor children that she's in custody of, while she wanted to live at a crime scene thinking that she could derail the life of another, and maliciously so that no one would know what she's doing. And that is, by the way, the purpose of keeping the specific environment, stalking in concert with the corrupt law enforcement agency, and engaging in what is, again, assault and battery for no logical reason other than fear of the fact that what you're doing as an entity is going to be further documented as I get more license plates, as I document more images and more videos. This is speaking to what is the ongoing pattern that's been long established before the LAPD showed to the world on an ongoing consistent basis, more than just when I traveled from San Bernardino County to LA on Metrolink, showing the ongoing system of corruption and surveillance through all of the aforesaid means of transportation. Okay. More than that, now on a daily basis, you're looking at it, the specific environment, which remains at all times, including through the engineer light, what's in my apartment. And while the entity is covering up, like you saw outside of my apartment this morning, during the 11 o'clock hour, if I recollect correctly, the light source is there. The engineer light is inside of my apartment, and the light source is there. It's covered up. Not only that, I have the light source at that same location over my head at 10 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, even 2 o'clock, at that same front door as I walk outside of the front of my apartment. This is the light source which is not the sun under any circumstances, including based on evidence where it's not even anywhere in this region, and it would never, ever possibly be seen outside of my bedroom window while I'm in LA, and it's remaining over the Upland Public Library, which is just one example. It's just one example. And what do you see in that specific environment? Where that entity is aware of the fact that you're capturing the evidence where that system is occurring, the demon-possessed population that's targeting someone under the light source, that's not the sun. The entity then continues to engage in that terrorism on a cloudy day, covering up that light source. And that weather, by the way, and I put that in air quotes, that so-called weather, it changes immediately based on what I do as I do it. And that's also what you'll witness in my documentation, which I've pointed out. None of this is the natural environment. It is stalking by the demon possessed who are maintaining presence while that environment follows you. Hence, the light source remaining over me while I'm on public transportation. Hence, the light source remaining over me while I remain inside of one address all day long. Whether the demon possessed entity that is malicious and psychotic, engage in the same stalking system with the malice of trying to cover up that light source and still stalking in a helicopter, still stalking in the path as though someone's going to forget that, or that's some sort of contradiction. That pattern is documented. And this is exactly what the Upland Police Department, the state of California, and the people of the state engaged in, which I documented. And that's what I'm going to do, a screen recordings for you to witness that. And let me be clear. The Los Angeles Police Department is not the only law enforcement agency that is waiting for a raid by the federal government. It is currently 5:17 p.m. and this is P.O.C.